Moses approached the camp. He saw the calf and the dancing. Moshe's anger blazed. He threw down the tablets that were in his hand and he smashed them beneath the mountain. So we're a little surprised. I mean, we might not be so shocked if somebody else in a fit of rage throws their wife's heirloom china on the floor or throws a lamp across the room. But Moses, to take the tablets that the Torah just reminded us were fashioned by the hands of God, with extraordinary miracles involved in the writing on the tablets, cast them on the ground in anger and wrath? What can this mean? So let's look at what the commentaries have to say. There is a train of thought that explains that the tablets that Moses brought down were extraordinarily heavy. In fact, there is a commentary that computes it and says it was 672 pounds. Moses was very, very strong. We know this from other stories in the Bible. But 672 pounds, that's a lot of pounds. Now, the commentaries explain that the tablets carried themselves. But when Moses came down and saw the sin, when the tablets came face to face with the sin, the letters flew off. The celestial energy flew off. And he could no longer carry, because then the tablets weren't carrying him. They weren't carrying themselves. He was carrying them, and he lost his strength. That's one explanation. Another explanation is that he needed to shock them. He simply needed to shock them to their senses. But that's a very, very audacious act. To smash the tablets that God had fashioned. So let's look deeper. First, let's look at what Rashi explains to us. Rashi on page 17 under verse 19. And he threw down from his hands. He thought to himself, just as the Korban Pesach, the eating of the Paschal lamb, which is just one of the mitzvot of the Torah, yet the Torah says no stranger may eat from it. So Moses says to himself, one mitzvah, the Paschal lamb, the Torah says no stranger may eat from it. And the entire Torah is here on the tablets. How can I conceivably give it to a people who have repudiated the cardinal commandment not to serve anything else but God? In other words, Moses says, it's blasphemous for me to give such a people the Torah. I can't do it. But this only begs a question. Fine, don't give it to them. Sequester it. Hide it away. Smash it? What are you doing? What are you doing? So here's another possible explanation. Other commentaries explain that Moses understood that the Jewish people were simply spiritually immature. They had not yet evolved to a place where they were capable of receiving the tablets. Why not? He feared that they would take the same adulation that they had expressed towards the golden calf, and they would now transfer this towards the tablets. And he said to himself, I have to do something radical. I have to completely eradicate this notion that people can unilaterally and independently vest anything with sanctity. They have to understand that the tablets are holy only when and if they listen to God. I am holy only because I am an agent of God. The cherubs that he knew they would be commanded to build are holy only because they are the commandment of God. But to simply vest something with certain powers, even as a medium to serve God because you decided to do so, no, that can't happen. So he wanted to teach them that lesson in dramatic fashion. He was afraid they would superimpose the same idea on the tablets. But again, He could have simply showed them the tablets and said, you're not ready. I'm going to put these away like a parent might do with the keys to the car. And when you prove yourself, I will let you drive. We still need to understand why he broke them. It's a terrible act. You're not even allowed to desecrate one vessel in the temple. You're not even allowed to desecrate a mezuzah. Take the tablets that God had fashioned and break them? There's a midrash in Shemot Rabbah that explains that Moses did this in an ultimate act of self-sacrifice. He said to himself, I'm going to throw my lot in with my people. They're going to be punished for fashioning the calf. I'm going to be punished for breaking the tablets, and I will go with them, and they will go with me. And God Almighty, if you forgive me, you have to forgive them. We're a deal. We're a couple. We come together. It's both or nothing. If not, blot out my name from your Torah, as Moses did say. So this comes after Moses takes care of punishing the people, which we haven't done yet, the various punishments. And God says to Moses, well, actually the verse is on page 26, carve out 2 stone tablets for yourself, just like the first ones. And I will write upon these tablets the words which were on the first tablets that you broke. Okay? Now look to the middle of page 27, under the words carve out for yourself. Rashi says you broke the first tablets, you carve out others for yourself. Okay? A parable. Rashi gives us a parable. This is comparable to a king who went off to a faraway land and left his betrothed with maidservants. As a result of the immoral behavior of the maidservants, the betrothed's reputation was besmirched. Her bridesman, who was in charge of chaperoning and taking care of her, arose and tore up her marriage contract, saying, if the king will decide to kill her, I will tell him, whoa, she's not even your wife. Consequently, the king investigated and found that the immoral behavior was only on the part of the maidservants. He was reconciled with her, whereupon his bridesman said to him, the king, write her another marriage contract, for the first one was torn up. The king replied to him, you're the one who tore it up. You buy other paper for yourself, and I'll write it for her in my handwriting. The analog. The king is God. The maidservants are the riffraff, the Erev Rav, the Egyptians that came up with the Jewish people from Egypt. The bridesman is Moses, and God's beloved betrothed is Israel. So now let's look at this in a different light. Moses does what he must to save the Jewish people. In the analog, if he gives them the ketubah, if he gives them the marriage contract in the form of the tablets, they will be a married woman who has engaged in adulterous behavior. That's a point of no return. So Moses has to save them by tearing up the marriage contract, as it were. Now, we need to look at this and understand what happened here. The actions of Moses highlight an essential paradox and an essential and ultimate conundrum. And here's the conundrum. One cannot understand who is a Jew, why is a Jew, what is a Jew without the Torah. In fact, this is why Moses did not want to give them the tablets, you might remember, because they had acted unworthy thereof. He said he can't give it to a people who had repudiated the cardinal principle of the Torah. On the other hand, the Torah was clearly written for the Jew and only for the Jew. So Moses here has to make a choice, an impossible choice. The Torah, upholding the honor of the Torah, or saving the Jewish people. What do you do? How do you make that kind of decision? What was his decision? He broke the tablets. He cast them at the foot of the mountain. The last verse of the Torah reads as follows. top of page 35, and for the entire strong hand and for the entire great display that Moshe performed in view of all of Israel. So this is the final words of the eulogy concerning the greatness of Moses. And Rashi says, for the entire strong hand, this refers to the fact that he received the Torah and the tablets with his hands. And for the entire great display, this refers to the miracles and the mighty deeds in the immense, awesome wilderness. And in view of all of Israel, the final word of the Torah, the crescendo, this refers to when he took the liberty of shattering the tablets before their eyes. As he said, I shattered them before your eyes. And the last words of Rashi on the entire Torah, the Holy One, blessed is he, consented to his opinion. He actually ratified Moses' opinion, Moses' action, and he said, which you shattered. And God said to Moses, more power to you for shattering the tablets. This is a staggering teaching. God says to Moses, more power to you for understanding my deepest desire, for understanding that even beyond the Torah, transcending the Torah, is the Jew. Of course, what defines the Jew, as we said earlier, is only the Torah. And yet, beyond the Torah is the Jew. And Moses chose to save, to cherish the Jew over the Torah. And I have to insert here that if there is one teaching that encapsulates the unique beauty and the passion of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, it is this teaching. The Jew. This was the essence of the Rebbe's perception of each one of us. He saw our essence. He respected that essence. And because of that, there was no soft bias of lower expectations. The Rebbe did not expect less of me or you than of himself. He expected that if a Jew was a Jew, of course they would want to put on tefillin. You're Jewish, of course you want to bless over the four kinds. The fact that you're walking in Manhattan, you didn't know that it was Sukkot, you had no intention of doing this, that's besides the point. You're Jewish, all you want to do is a mitzvah. Irrespective of how alienated the Jew might have presented themselves from Torah and mitzvot.
What did you think about this video? Comment below and click subscribe for more videos like this.